What are your thoughts onto the Salesforce job ecosystem in the upcoming years for the people who are planning to start their career right now into the industry? So we have talked about the people who want to build their own consultancy earlier, and now what I'm asking is that like what would be the Salesforce job ecosystem look like into the upcoming years? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's because I think it's been a really interesting few years because for as long as I've worked in Salesforce, there has always been a job shortage. And, Trailhead came out, which was meant to kind of, increase the amount of people learning about Salesforce so the Salesforce ecosystem could continue to expand. There's been a lot of training organizations, which I think they're contracted by Salesforce to
Trailhead Academy.
train out other people. Trailhead Academy. You've also got Pathfinders as well, which is something that's set up in the UK and the US. I don't know if there might be some other countries as well, but that's training people from IT backgrounds in Salesforce.
Yeah,
so there's
journey to Salesforce.
Retraining, and there's companies like Revelant who are in the UK and the US who are training up people as well. So there's basically what I'm trying to say is there's so many initiatives to get new people from outside the ecosystem in. And I think maybe the job market might be a bit more balanced now if it wasn't for COVID. But of course, COVID's happened and accelerated everyone's digital transformation so much that, there's a job shortage, I mean, pretty much everywhere, especially in Salesforce as well. So I would like to think that as these initiatives speed up and people put more of a focus on them, for consultancies, it should be easier to hire consultants and there should be more talent available in the ecosystem. But I think it's also important that professionals, especially professionals already in the ecosystem, stand out. By focusing on products that they haven't, that are maybe a bit more niche, like CPQ or billing. Marketing Cloud is still quite niche. Commerce is still quite niche. As opposed to just focusing on the normal Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, things like that. Because as more people start to join the ecosystem, which I think they will, and to an extent they kind of need to, if Salesforce needs to continue growing, they need the talent to support the consultancies, to support the end users. So the market might get a bit saturated at some point, and professionals are going to need to stand out to ensure they're still relevant.
And when do you think that this saturation is going to come up? That's exactly what I wanted to ask, actually.
Yeah, no idea. Too hard to say, I think.
When do you think it will not happen? I mean, for how long do you think?
It'll be at least a year. At least a year.
It's too short.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's why. Yeah, that's why I made say at least an actual estimate. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but so many organizations are focusing on training now that it's got to pay off sometime. So maybe a year, maybe 2 years. I wouldn't have expected longer than 2 years, to be honest. I think that's enough time to train people to a good level and get them in. But yeah, I mean, who knows? What do you think, Shrey? What's your guess?
I think for at least 2 years, it's going to be the same. And 2 years down the line, later after 2 years, I think it's going to roll back. And all the thing which professionals would need or require to do is to stand out again, exactly as you said. The reason is very simple. Currently, like let's say there is a demand for 100 people and there are only 70 people available. So there is a shortage of 30 people. But what is happening right now is that all of these 70 people are playing with all of the organizations here and there, just taking an offer letter from one and then showing it to the other one, then showing it to the third one, and then showing it to the fourth one. None of these organizations are stable. So what all these organizations are doing right now is they are creating their own training program and getting the fresh graduates or somebody else from any other industry and getting them trained onto the Salesforce. So instead of these, the requirement is 100. With time, it might grow to 110 or 120. But because of what these 70 people are doing right now to the industry, these organizations are training people which will be more than 100 and definitely more than 120 as well. So at the end of the day, in like 1.5 years or 2 years, whatever the time frame is going to look like, it's going to be 150 to 200 people out there into the whole ecosystem. And whereas the requirements are only 100 or max 120. So now what will these 30 people or 60 people who are trained more into the technology or onto the domain would do? So it's going to roll down. and it's going to hurt these 70 people who initially did that. If they do not have the capability to stand out, or if they are not up to the date of onto Salesforce, because Salesforce completely requires you to update your skill sets every year almost. There's something or the other new coming up, and generally what happens is new people get trained onto the newer things only. So for them, it's only learning. But for the people who have already been into the industry, they first have to unlearn the things that they already know, and then they have to learn. And it becomes difficult for people who are already experienced into the industry to unlearn things and learn new things. So yeah, it's going to go backwards. I mean, this is what I think. I don't know whether I'm going to be correct or not, but I think this is how it's going to look like, because companies are scared.
Sorry.
Yeah. So companies are actually scared. Companies are scared of the nature of the people that they are seeing right now. They do not want to be dependent on people. They are in a position where there is a gun pointed onto their head. Pay us this much or else we'll leave. Pay us this much or else we'll leave. They're smart enough. They'll pay you right now. They'll have you for 6 months, and 6 months down the line, they'll create so many people similar to you, or at least 1% or 10% less than you, and they'll be good to go for the job that you are doing right now. But later, what would you do? You'll not be like promoted to a position of leadership or something like that. And if this can, I think this will not work out if the requirement from 100 goes to 150 or 200. But if it goes to 120, definitely it's going to backfire. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I have heard some stories of people moving jobs and getting paid absolutely insane amounts of money, like 6 figures for 3 years experience, things like that. So that's just a sign that the job market is insane. But I think one of the things that I think is quite interesting is the ISV market at the moment. The app exchange market is just so big. I mean, if you look at some of the companies in the DevOps space, the funding they're getting and the growth they're seeing at the moment, it's pretty insane. And that is another avenue for people to go down, and another avenue for people to be trained up in, and things like that. So that could help the ecosystem in 2 ways. One, professionals are joining these companies, learning about Salesforce, maybe not learning about consulting, but learning about the ecosystem, and then they could move jobs. But also, they're creating more jobs in these companies with all this investment that's coming in from VCs at the moment. So I think that's going to be an area to watch over the next few years, definitely. I don't think there's been a time in my 10-year career that there's been this much money flowing into.
There's a lot of money
ISVs.
That's flowing in. That's for sure. I mean, yeah. That this was something that I guess I was not aware about, and only time will tell what will happen and what will not. But one thing is for sure, that all of the people who are doing this or are not doing this, who are getting the jobs or who are not getting the jobs, you'll have to make yourself in a position, or put yourself in a position where you can showcase, where you can stand out, basically. That's it. And if you can stand out, I think it's a good to go thing for you. But if you'll not be able to do that, it might get difficult for you as well.